I needed frostwort, so I'd come to the only cold planet I'd found. And damn, it was cold. Thinking it best to keep moving, to try and prevent the nippiness, nipping on my nips, I started harvesting the frostwort. Although the sentinels were out in force, and it didn't take long before they identified me as an enemy. With some help from my scatter blaster, the sentinels didn't last long, but in no time, a second wave appeared. My situation was worsening, and as the temperature was so cold, my suit hazard protection was failing. I needed to get back to my ship, and fast. Thankfully my jetpack tanks hadn't frozen, and reaching my ship, I secured the frostwort and headed for the stars. Quickly calling the anomaly, to escape the sentinel scan, I landed and went to see Nada. Nada asks what new knowledge I have obtained, but still seems to be really hung up on the fact that Artemis didn't remember them. They start to question themselves, and look troubled. Nada says that they are at peace here, and they don't want it to end. But then says, it is better to understand, to know what comes for us, and tells me to not stop on their account. Think Polo might have been passing the wacky backy. Heading over to the little space Gek, he says that whilst Nada may be alarmed by Apollo, he is not. But then just rambles on, making no more sense. He reminds me of someone, but can't think who. The name Zelric something. Dark, something. Oh well, sure it'll come back to me. He tells me to read and study monoliths, to give myself a strong brain to match my strong legs. Wait, what? Easy now Polo! I was gonna ask for his black hole coordinates, but changed my mind. Heading back to base, I needed to give my scan data to Toyf, for his little family planning project. Heading downstairs, Toyf greeted me with open arms. He must be feeling better. They ask excitedly for the data, and say their child has made me the blueprint for unstable gel, by way of appreciation. They are concerned, that the ability to receive such data, means their child could start receiving signals from unknown sources all over the galaxy, and they would be unable to protect them. However, if I can find them some ion batteries, they can prepare polyfiber blueprints, that can be woven to make a protective cloak. I actually have some on me, so I hand them to Toyf. He thanks me and in return, hands me a copy of the polyfiber blueprint. Asking for time to educate his child, I leave him to it. Turning to speak to Ot Tunair, he seems very excited that I have harvested, and planted frostwort. Handing them a sample, they grin with delight, before telling me of another plant, one called solar vine. This plant grows only on scorched worlds, but they assure me our hydroponic trays can handle them, and wishes me to plant, and harvest solar vine right away. I remember already having encountered this plant, so go to check my storage. Sure enough, I had some tucked away, so take it back to Ot Tunair, who seems delighted. He tells me, that now I've mastered the basics, he's going to take me into the realms of more dangerous botanical study. With a sly grin, he whispers about a plant called a fungal cluster, that they come from a toxic environment, but he's sure I can handle that. He warns me to be careful, that fungal clusters can cause hallucinations if improperly handled. Sounds fun, let's go! I needed to teleport to the system Regis Tessal, and then make my way to the planet Robriefsum, as this was the only place I had recorded fungal clusters growing in the wild. However, the planet was classed as infested, and had really bad weather. Paws crossed. Locating a small patch of the clusters deep in a ravine, I set the ship down, recharged my hazard protection, and started farming. Not wishing to hang about for the storm, I made my way back to the space station, and teleported home. Heading downstairs, I planted the fungal clusters, and reported back to Ot Tunair. They seemed pleased, and state that I have learned quickly. He tells me we now need to go one step further, and harvest gamma weed. This plant only grows on the worlds that were destroyed by atomic strikes after the last Great War. They say they'll await the results with anticipation, but must now get some rest. Heading to the ship, I should be able to collect gamma weed from the planet Kua 15 and 5, in my current system. Spotting a nice patch, I landed, and proceeded to harvest the gamma weed. Returning to my ship, I stowed the radioactive plants in safe storage, and made my way back to the base. I must admit, this plant is very pretty, and the best color too, golden. Planting the crops, I saw Autunair waving frantically. He asks if the gamma weed cuttings are ready, so I hand him some samples. He claims that he'll be able to make such fine dishes with this plant, but says it's a shame I won't be able to eat them. I'm not sure why, as I am also a Gek, you know? Handing me the seeds for Gravitino host, Venemerchant and albumin pearl orbs, Autunair asks me to cultivate a crop of Gravitino hosts. They say that many believe this plant cannot be cultivated through artificial means, but he knows they are wrong, that I'll soon see. I plant the seeds and return to Autunair, who is beaming with delight. He claims he can hear my balls, and asks to see them. Wait! Oh right! Unbuttoning my satchel, he claims they are truly wondrous. Not the first time I've heard that. Autunair proceeds to tell me about the Echina cactus, that flourishes in even the most barren of worlds, and asks me to cultivate some. Thankfully, I already have some of this plant in storage, so harvesting a few, I hand them to a very excited Gek. Telling me they are very proud, and that my training is almost complete, they speak of my final plant to master, the star bramble. Only found on exotic worlds that are unspoilt by war or death. He asks me to cultivate some here. As I'm leaving, they mention they have to speak to the overseer. Apparently they're unhappy with his performance. He says he hopes the star bramble will change their mind. He seems to be doing okay to me, so unsure what's upset Yohai Tom. Maybe he was expecting a distillery? I set the autopilot, and head for Sobernum. Let's hope these star bramble are enough to impress the overseer. Grabbing as many of these giant bright flowers as possible, I return to the ship, refuel the launch thrusters, and set a course back to base. Planting the star bulb, I return to the farmer, for hopefully the last time. I mean, I don't want him fired, but all this running around is doing my nut in. They say they'll make one last meal before they leave. The overseer requested a dish made from wardite root. As far as I am aware, this plant is more commonly known as the death element. This sounds a bit fishy. As I had previously obtained some of this plant, I hand it to Autunair. They tell me they are happy that I have mastered so much of the botanical art, but now their contract is at an end. They start to discuss their leaving plans, then suddenly, Autunair grabs me, telling me not to trust the overseer. They say that their food was drugged. They say they are not feeling themselves, and don't think they should go, not just yet. I assure Autunair he is welcome to stay as a guest, until he feels better. They smile back, seeming to be happy among their plants. I mean, he's not costing me anything having him here, and I don't know about award winning, but he does make some yummy food. Maybe I'll have a word with the overseer. Anyway, time to put my paws up,